All right. Well, it's a really big day. It is January 4th of 2022. We're kicking off the new year. This is our first podcast of the new year. We're going to be talking with Nick Stella and TJ Humphreys, the new president of RYSE. Obviously,
That's right.
my name is Ben Kane, and this is Mike Roberto, as well as I mentioned Nick Stella as well, CEO of RYSE. We're really excited to be talking today. The big announcement, obviously, is what I just said, TJ moving to RYSE. So, TJ, you've always been...
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, what an intro. Yeah, God, where's the history?
Well, first, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Obviously, there's been, the last 2 days have been a whirlwind, as you can probably imagine for me, like, text messages, DMs, phone calls from, even, other vendors, other brands,
Sure.
retailers, international partners. It's just been awesome. Obviously, Nick and I've known Nick for about 4 years. So we kind of go way back. I've been able to watch just this brand start from literally this guy like punching his way into the space to now, the number one brand in one of the top retailers in the country. And it's just been, for me to be able to watch that and I think I put this in one of my social posts. It reminds me so much of our days back when we started ProSupps, that gritty, entrepreneurial, roll your sleeves up and go out swing. And it's exciting to be a part of this here.
That's awesome. I was going to note that I always saw you leaving really like nice comments on RYSE's posts, Nick's posts, and I kind of posted the other day talking about some negativity in the industry. It's nice when you see positivity and camaraderie between brands and people. So it's awesome to see you on the team now and growing with them. So I guess part of this podcast is like a bit of a catch up, because last time that Nick and I talked on a podcast was when Greg came on, the VP. And so there's been a bit of, we've covered Sunny D and Ring Pop and stuff, but a little bit of a catch up and to really talk about what you guys are going to be doing together this year. So maybe the best way to kind of really bring everyone up to speed, first off, is we need to know more about you, TJ, because we know you, but a lot of our viewers might not know specifics.
For sure. Well, I'm actually just brought over here to help spot Nick on his, heavy bench presses and stuff like that. He really needed a spotter. No, so my background, for those that don't know, I started a brand called ProSupps. Most people know it as Hyde, or the Hyde Pre-Workout. Started that about 10 years ago. Been in the industry actually for like 20 years.
I was going to bring a
tell like my age. Yeah. So yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I actually go way back. So I actually started in this industry at Lone Star Distribution, which then became Europa Sports. So I've had the privilege of working with some of the best brands historically, your BSNs, your Gasparis, your Optimums, Dymatizes. So I've been in the industry like 20 years. And then I decided to go out on kind of my own. Art Atwood, who was my bodybuilding coach, passed away in September 11th of 2011. And his family reached out to me and they said, hey, we've got this brand. Is there anything, anything you can do with it? And I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point in time. I went from being an entrepreneur to working for another brand. And I wasn't sure if that was something I wanted to get back into, which is that whole idea of building a business from scratch. But I wound up rolling the dice, and obviously, a lot of the guys jumped on board with me, and we, at that time we were, 0 to 100 in about, 100 yards. We were blowing, going. It's so different though. Like the brands that are really making a difference now in this space, the industry's changed so much. So I had the privilege of owning and running ProSupps for 10 years. Recently, I decided it's just a good time for me to be able to do. I've always been one of those guys, those that do know me, that's I love to lead, I love to inspire, I love high growth opportunities, not afraid of challenges, not afraid of adversity. And thankfully for me, Nick has created a real soft spot for me to land over here, because he's really done so many things well over the last couple of years. So while I put in some of my posts that it's, can I do it again? The reality is I'm definitely going into this opportunity with a huge tailwind, right? So I'm excited. I think, the value that I bring here is just, I've paid a lot of dumb tax over the last 10 years on everything from, dealing with, specific either, retailers or international business, shipping, manufacturing. There's so many things that I've learned that I can hope pass along to Nick and the rest of the team here, because obviously what they're doing is in the 20 years I've been in this business, I've never seen a brand uh, make magic like RYSE has in the last couple of years. So just stoked to be here. Stoked for the opportunity, and can't wait to unveil what we got coming in 2022.
Yeah, so I think a lot of my I don't we joked about having talking points, but a lot of like my curiosity with the podcast with today is it's kind of finding out, because you've been at supercharged brands before. You were at
Yeah.
VPX, you owned
Yep.
Pro Supps, like you were
Yep.
saying, like going 0 to 100 in 100 yards. It feels like RYSE is already on that train. Like what kind of skill sets do you bring to the table? And this isn't like a quiz or anything, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if
I didn't prepare shit. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if the team is already, you know, redlining going like a million miles an hour, what else is there to do now? And that's really
Yeah.
what I want to talk about, is what you guys are doing this year.
No, that's a great question. I think, and it's interesting because you can look at it from the consumer perspective, and you look at what Nick and the team have been able to do in terms of getting, being the top brand at Vitamin Shop, which is massive. We've got a couple meetings coming up with some huge food, drug, and mass partners, and just having an opportunity to sit at the table is massive. What people that know this industry see is you've got a rocket ship, but there's so many different ways that that require a kind of a specific level of management. Whether it's supply chain, or I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but there's certain aspects of a high growth brand that you just got to make sure you've got the right people on the train to make sure that those decisions. And again, like I said, I paid a lot of dumb tax making some decisions on high growth brands when they were my own, that I can pass along to this group that really give RYSE the best opportunity to do everything that Nick envisioned from day one.
I think there's different sections too. So when you look at RYSE, marketing, tech, I have that locked. We got Greg, he's working on a lot of wholesale, and TJ fits into that retail. So if you look at Pro Supps as a whole, it was a big brick and mortar. You really didn't see it online much. So he brings that in to where I'm new to. I don't know anything about that. Yes, I've learned just through our impact on social media and our reach, but I still have so much to learn in that space, and he's a veteran in that area.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment that I can pay you, Nick, is that you, like, coming in, like, you learn very quickly, and you see the trends, and you don't have a problem. I don't mean to say like replicating them, because it sounds like you're copying, but like finding the playbook and playing it well. But a lot of this, I bet, and I know because I've been on the brand side, is connections, and is knowing the industry and already having been there. And TJ, I assume that you have this ridiculous network of those FDM partners and stuff like that, because that's
I mean,
bigger.
it's such a different business, right? And I think what's so unique about today's, and I hope, I know a lot of brands tune into these podcasts and they see it as well. A lot of brands that started first with consumer have been able to migrate over into brick and mortar and have just exponentially large success, right? And I think it's been harder for brands like and I still, by the way, I'm still a shareholder in Pro Supps. I got a lot of questions about, oh, what happened? Left on great terms, great, my private equity partner, still to this day, great partners. But I think, when you look at what RYSE has done from the beginning and what I bring to the table now, Nick's created the buzz. He's created the voice of the brand that is engaged so well with consumer. I'm going to be able to put it in front of eyeballs, in front of millions, right? Like millions of people that may not have had a chance to follow RYSE or follow one of the athletes or follow one of the influencers. Where my relationship will come into play is I'm going to take all this exciting volume and voice that Nick and the team have created and present it to, the brick and mortar and the international audiences, right? So I think it's really just a perfect marriage, really. And he's a pretty cute guy too. So
you quickly made a comment before saying from the consumer perspective, and I think that that's a big point to make here. Is from a consumer perspective, having Nick, TJ, Greg, they're all, you guys are all big consumer facing people in the industry. Like what could you possibly all be doing there? But they don't consider, especially right now, I assume one of the biggest bottlenecks and problems you guys have is just having enough supply chain. Right?
Yeah,
that's a job in itself. Right. And if you're managing that kind of stuff, you're not going to have time to speak to the vitamin shops of the world. You're definitely not going to have the time to be flying out to Walmarts and FDM, not to put Walmart in your mouth, but put FDM in general. Right. Those are huge jobs. And so
No, that's right.
Nick's smiling at the
No, I
Walmart
know. I
comment.
was going to say, yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Right. Everyone, yeah, it's contagious. Everyone's smiling.
Yeah.
No, it really is. As a young CEO and founder of a company, it's really, a lot of people don't understand how each division has its own, it's almost like its own company. Like what TJ is going to be doing here is his own company and workload. And what I do is my own workload, because I'm really heavy on social media, building the brand. And Greg, as you know, is really heavy on design and packaging, compliance and supply chain. So to answer your question, there's just so many different, and I don't want to say sections, but as much as we're growing too, there's just a lot more things that come up on the day to day.
We really want to, as close as we can, become kind of experts in each of those categories.
Yes,
you know, and I think not that I'm calling myself an expert, but having 20 years of dealing with brick and mortar retail, understanding international trade, international business, international partners, and then the work that I've done on the food, drug, and mass side, I think that those are three major tools that I could bring to just a brand that's on fire right now with consumer.
You can't do everything. You can't spread yourself too thin.
Right.
Like if I did everything, wouldn't work. We wouldn't scale to where we want to be.
I think a lot of people can be successful at direct to consumer. Not to downplay anyone's success in direct to consumer markets, but when it gets to international, like there are so many articulated points in there. I've tried to do international with brands, and it's a huge learning curve. And then FDM is, I mean, it's a scale that most people don't even understand.
That's right. You're exactly right, man. It's like it's its own different animal. And I think if you don't, so many people think, oh, that's hitting pay dirt, and it is. I mean, the amount of foot traffic that some of these major national FDM retailers get, it trumps what a lot of the specialty sports stores get. But if you don't manage the business, you get one shot. Like a lot of times we'll have relationships with the guy down the block that owns a couple supplement stores, and if he doesn't get his Sunny D pre-workout this week, it's not the end of the world. You don't ship to some of these big retailers product for a week or 2 weeks. You're a speck on a gnat's butt compared to the rest of the business for them, right? So it's that management of the relationship, and then also of supply, is what really keeps you in there, right? It gives you the long-term play.
Yeah, it's easy to ship 3 boxes to Joe's supplement shack down the road, but when you're talking about hundreds of pallets, it's different.
That's right.
Entirely so.
That's
so
right.
All the while you're scaling at this level, we're also talking about new authentic collabs. We're talking about energy drinks. I assume at some point, I'm hoping bars will be coming back. I know that would be something that we'd all be looking for, and then I'm sure those functional foods would help you in your FDM efforts. How is that dynamic all working? Are the energy drinks really carrying you into those FDMs? I imagine that's probably the easiest conversion, right?
I mean, I have my own opinion. I think that I think clearly, obviously, when you look at distribution points, FDM has a significantly large number of distribution points. And around energy, it's almost like brand agnostic. People that are going in and buying energy drinks, a lot of times it's like, okay, that one's a 2 for $4, that one's a whatever. That said, I think that our approach with energy is going to be through specialty first, because I think when you think about the brand strength that RYSE has, the engagement that we'll have with specialty consumer, and we've gotten great support already from our national retailers on the specialty side around the drink. And I think, what that does eventually is it translates into opportunities in FDM. Now, that said, I would tell you that our FDM buyers are keenly interested in letting this drink roll into their channels first. So we've got to just figure out, and I think what we think about is the best place to launch this product to create the most amount of buzz, the most amount of enthusiasm for not just the product, for the brand. And then of course there's the supply chain component as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of mentioned the agnostic nature of cans. With cans, I'll admit, I go and I need 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, right? If I'm just looking for a can, and for the most part, all of these taste good outside of your Jocko Fuel and a few others out there. But I will keep name dropping that until they fix their flavors, because it's that bad.
You know what? I've always wondered, okay, we're being honest with each other. I've been in this business a long time, and I've tasted some products. I'm like, how did this get out of their offices? Like, is there an R&D process anywhere with some of these brands? I'm not trying to It just blows my, anyway. Yeah.
And you guys, you've seen the spins data. It does well at Vitamin Shop. I don't, natural sweeteners, they're not that hard to use anymore. I don't feel.
There's some vendors that make some pretty decent naturally sweetened stuff.
Yeah. And
well, to your point too with the drink, it's not a secret that our licensed flavors are helping drive us into all these places. Now, that's not to go out and just pick up any license under the sun. You still have to, we talk about this all the time. You still have to have the demand there to get that product in front of people. Just because you have Sunny D on the bottle doesn't mean it's going to be the #1 selling product at shop. You have to have the demand there. And that's something we've really worked on, tying in our collaborations with our reach.
A great example of that, we had a call this morning with Vitamin Shop, and they were really, it was a fantastic call, but they really highlighted the fact that it's not a one-trick pony. RYSE is not, it's not, Sunny D and Ring Pop, although those happen to be the top 2 selling pre-workouts in Vitamin Shop. They're the protein cell, the amino cell, and it's really around brand development and consumer work that Nick and the team have been doing over the last 3 years that have given RYSE the opportunity to be not just a kind of a single product type offering, right? And that's why I'm so excited for energy, because what that tells me is you've got it's the brand, right? And it's the brand that sells, and we roll energy into specialty. You already have that really contagious engagement that you have with the consumer that loves RYSE products. And then in turn, of course, and that's how I got most of ProSupps through FDM initially, was the success we had in specialty, and that's the natural progression of things, right?
So let me ask you, because TJ, you have experience in RTDs with ProSupps.
I do.
You also have one of the first biggest collaboration, really, I would consider, with DJ Khaled. Really, that's some experience there as well.
Yeah, sure. I remember. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But my question,
What's the question? There's so much we could.
There's so much to get into here.
About that? Yeah.
But I really am.
Khaled on the phone. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm so curious. Like the investment into energy cans is like it's a huge start. It's a completely different distribution. Like the weight of it's very heavy. You need, and you're coming from Europa, so like there's people that are strong in this. You guys have never done cans and 12 packs of cans before. Like, what is like what was the driving reason for you to start an energy drink? Like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, because that's your question.
We've been into RTDs, the pre-workout RTDs, right?
Yeah.
So we sell a lot of those, believe it or not. A lot of gyms we're placed in. We're in Gold, we're in Vesa, we're in Crunch, we're in Vitamin Shop, we're one of the top selling SKUs. We get the spins data. We see what energy drinks are selling. So naturally, putting these collaborations on these cans, they're going to sell. And we went and we secured pre-orders for these. So we have a massive opening PO, massive, to our supplier or our manufacturer. So we just know it's going to sell because of the hype we've created already in these channels. So it's a little bit different. If you were asking me this a year ago, we would have never done cans.
Yeah.
You can't just start an energy drink business.
And it was hard, because when I started one 6 years ago, you only had printed can options, which was high MOQs. You only had high MOQ options, and we were having to go to these places that literally ran beer 8 hours a day, and then plopped some of the largest national carbonated energy players, and then they put ours on. So, but the MOQs were through the roof. So the capital investment on something like now, fortunately for us, the demand, we've already, secured really some massive orders from our partners. But even if you didn't have that, you can get into this space. It's a lot easier to get into this space now. To your point though, still more expensive, right? I think we're able to do it now and still make it a decent piece of business for us, because we've got the demand from customer to go in and secure larger product runs and everything else.
And you mentioned
for those listening at home who don't know, MOQ is minimum order quantity. So back in the day, we get too much into our
glossary of terms. Yeah.
So how are you planning on differentiating these cans? Because there's so many different companies coming out with cans. How do you compete for that fridge space?
Aside from the licensing, of course, we're the only one. So Sunny D, everybody knows we're coming out with. I posted it. We're obviously the only brand with Sunny D on a can. Aside from that, it's a 200 milligram caffeine in a 16-ounce can, which you don't see many of those. We have a full 500 milligrams of cognizant in our product. So
that'll feel good.
Yep. So it's just a great lifestyle. And really, man, it comes down to your marketing at the end of the day. I believe ours is the best tasting product. You've tried some of our products. They taste phenomenal. I think it's the best tasting energy drink. It's got unique licensed flavors. So it is unique. And it just feels good.
And I would say on adding to that, which I think it is a lot to begin with, the brand work, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's how we're marketing and who we're marketing to. I mean, there's obviously a significantly large number of consumers, probably in that 18 to 30-year-old age range, that love what RYSE is doing. And you know, and the reality is, if you never heard of RYSE, I would say that Nick and the graphics team have created such an attractive looking approach to packaging on the cans. They're going to stand out. I'm sure you guys have seen them. If not, people will be like, he sent me some a few months ago. And yeah, they're incredible. Like they are next level. And I think so it gives us a lot of chances to win, from formula to flavor to packaging to collabs to partners, right? We've got some incredible national retailers that said, hey, whenever you're coming out with them, we're taking them. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, when it comes to appearance, I don't doubt you guys. I know that you're going to present well. So, and that's a great answer. I think that was all we probably could have asked for that. Unless you want to keep talking about DJ Khaled, it's always fine with me.
No, so yeah, you know what's funny? I saw you guys. It was the LA Fit Expo, right? When we were talking about that, I think.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
A while back.
So let me tell you okay, I won't get too deep into it, but I think at that time I was looking at a way to differentiate our energy offering into something that was more like maybe larger stage, bigger stage, less fitness, more lifestyle, which I think, again, if that partnership worked out the way I intended it to work out, it could have gotten there. Obviously, the challenges we had early on with energy was all the things I mentioned before. And so, but listen, I would say this. I think, you know, what we have coming on here, not just with, you know, the packaging and everything else, probably a lot of people that love and follow RYSE know that we've got some really, you know, influential ambassadors and athletes on the team. I don't even want to talk about Noel. And yeah, I mean, that's a big deal.
A whole nother subject.
Yeah.
Well, I would say exactly to your point, TJ, like you said, if that partnership had worked out the way that I had intended, right? You were shooting for something, unfortunately it didn't work that way, but like RYSE has a track record with demand.
Right.
Well,
right.
To his point too, I mean, we've tried that too. We've gone on the road with Conor McGregor. So if you remember 3 years ago, I think it was our first year we had Conor McGregor. Sometimes things just don't work out as planned. So we're constantly evolving and getting the right faces into the brand. And that's where Noel comes in. His reach is insane. Yeah. So forward facing, he's definitely the man of our brand. He's definitely the face of RYSE. And he continues to grow. Every platform he touches, he explodes. So YouTube, he grew like 1.5 million in a month. TikTok, he's sitting at 4 million. Instagram, he's sitting at 1.5 million. So we kind of piggyback off all that. We use it.
I mean, he's hilarious. Like he's like it's beyond like humor.
He's next level, man. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of athletes, DJ Khaled's, entertainers, and he's Noel's next level. And what's crazy about him, he's as good of a human being as he is an influencer. Like if you were to get to know him, this is a very genuine dude, you know?
It's that authenticity that really matters with him, I think. Man, I talk about this on our Q&A like almost too frequently. Everyone wants to know how they can get sponsored all the time. And people don't realize it's a relationship and how much you can bring. And TJ used the word athlete. And obviously, first and foremost, they are athletes that lift weights and eat food, right? That's all they do. But understanding his channel, understanding his conversion, understanding the content that does well, I am sure that Noel pays attention to his metrics and understands how he works, right? He seems methodical. And on the top of that, he's also authentic. He speaks with his people. He understands. He knows his food, his training. He's real.
Well, you know, he started. So when we found him, he had 300,000 followers. He started giving content. So he's a massive human being. He's 6'3", he's 300 pounds, he's an IFBB pro. He started on a mission because he was bullied when he was younger, and he truly started to give back content. And he still does. He's not one to sell and shove stuff down your throat. So I think that's what makes him so much different. To your point, people just come, I want to make money and be an athlete.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work. People don't want to just buy product from you. So he started on a mission to help people's lives, and he's changed a lot of people's lives, and that's why he's so successful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And that's kind of a big thing is that, like, so we talked about Conor McGregor. With UFC is a spectator sport, you know. Tons of people love to watch it. Greg watches UFC. I've never seen him in an octagon. You know, we should say that Nick does have some mean cauliflower ears. I know. Nick can scream.
I would love to have those. I want to take those out for Saturday night and see if anyone messes with me.
I feel like they get you left alone. But but point all being that, like, UFC, you know, like watching DJ Khaled, that's all spectator type sport type stuff.
Yeah.
People who watch Noel want to listen to him and learn from him, right? They want to employ that. So they see him using RYSE.
Influence, you can have 10,000 followers, and if you influence 5,000 of those, that's more impactful than a million influencing 1,000.
Yeah.
So it's all about like who your target audience is, what you're saying to them, what information you're giving them, what you're giving back. People don't just want to watch you sell a product day in and day out.
Yeah. Where can we find Noel if viewers want to watch?
So YouTube, Noel Diesel. Just type in his name.
It'll pop up.
Noel Diesel.
Yeah,
Anywhere on Google.
NOELDEYZEL for those who don't know.
Yep.
Everything will come up.
Awesome. Cool. So we've talked.
I do have one last question. If we can stick on energy for one other second. Yeah. Were there any pushbacks from Sunny D regarding like turning their drink into an energy drink or putting caffeine into this, whether with the pre-workout or with the can? Was that ever like a concern that a kid might pick up in the store?
Yep.
Like, how did
it's a concern with all of them. You know, you got to assure them that it's going to be regulated more than anything else. So we put disclaimers on it. We definitely, one thing that we pride ourselves on at RYSE is we target and we tell only 18-year-old and older to take our products, which some brands don't do. So if anyone asks me and they're under 18, we do not recommend it. So we are diligent in doing that. But yeah, of course there was pushback. But ultimately they just graced us with it.
I'm sure
you know what I think. What I think too. Sorry. I think probably what they're seeing is like brands like, you know, obviously Starburst is in the space. So there's, you know, I would say these companies are saying, you know what, there's, you know, if these other guys are doing it, clearly they got past the concern about, you know, whatever, right?
And to that point, there is a diligent review process. So they have a lot of say in the packaging. So it's not like we can put whatever we want. Right. It goes through attorney's eyes, it goes through their head eyes, their marketing eyes, everything. So
good, cool. Thank you.
So TJ, you brought up like there are other people in licensing coming over into sports nutrition, and that's definitely created more of a flow or like people wanting to be in the space. How do you guys, with, you know, obviously Ghost has done it now, Dymatize, Accent Sledge, all these other guys, how do you guys do this differently? What is your thought process when you go to this?
So when I set out to license, I tried to find things that are literally nostalgic to growing up. So Smarties, Sunny D, Ring Pop, we all took that and consumed it when we grew up. Plus it's still it's mainstream now. My daughter, so I don't know if you saw, she picked up a Ring Pop, and that gave me the idea because we were doing Bazooka before. I looked at the back. So now I look at the back of every package to see who makes it. I looked at the back, it was Tops. So I went to them and I told them the story, and I'm like, my daughter loves it. You know, I consumed these growing up. So I think there's a lot of brands that are doing things that came to scene recently. I think they're kind of missing the mark because they're missing the whole audience from when everybody grew up and we're on these kind of products. I think that's what differentiates us.
What's your demographic? What's the age of your demo?
So it's anywhere from 18 to 40. Really, it's so wide. It's crazy.
I think like the obvious is like you guys feature a lot of young athletes. Obviously, you're not going to feature a lot of 40-year-old athletes. Obviously,
no, we definitely capture the TikTok. You know, I'm 31. I started this brand when I was 26, so I fit in that. Well, I used to, but I fit more into that. But no, we try to preach this for everybody. Like, it's not just for younger teens.
You know what I've always liked, even watching Nick do his thing the last couple of years, like the marketing. Yeah, it's, you know, you think about the audience, kind of the sweet spot in probably most sports nutrition brands is that 18 to 30 demo. But I think what's cool about RYSE and the message that Nick developed that the brand promotes is we want everybody to rise up. It's not about just young people, getting it. It's kind of like, hey, take your game to the next level, and anybody could participate in that. And the packaging is the same way. Like the packaging is mature enough that it doesn't look so out of the ordinary, goofy, juvenile, to where it's like, whoa, like, what is that, right? So I think it's really inviting. It invites, obviously, the 18 to 30 demo is still going to be the sweet spot for most brands, and that's where I think we probably resonate the strongest. But to Nick's point, the packaging it's inviting enough to, a guy like me who's 51 that wants to take pre-workouts and proteins. I don't feel embarrassed by going in and putting some pre-workout with some crazy name up there that I'm like, yeah, I've heard about this, but you know what I mean.
I think it's great because you also made Mr. Hyde. It's like
I did.
I feel like most 51-year-old guys wouldn't pick up Mr. Hyde.
Well, so what's crazy about that? I've always been concerned, especially as of late, and some of the things I left the team with was, and what you'll see what they're doing in 2022 is I said, look, we've got to modernize, because there's a lot of the younger audience that doesn't even know the story of Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yeah.
Back when we started it 11 years ago, it was like there were still being movies made, like I think, I can't remember what movie, but point being, like now it's kind of like, okay, how do you turn that into something that this 18 to 30 demo can relate to, right?
Yeah.
I remember what was it, Atlantic City, Europa? You guys had a guy walking around in a Mr. Hyde outfit. I remember that.
Yep. Yeah, that was an idea I came up with. I said, look, let's humanize this character. So we got in this guy's a sweetheart. I hope he watches this. I'll tell him to watch it. His name's Robbie Archer. He's a stuntman and actor in Canada. He's cool. 6'5", just a beast. And we said, look, let's put this guy in what we would say would be a modern day Hyde outfit. And we didn't know how it was going to work, to be honest. Like, we're like, okay, we're either going to get eggs thrown at us or people are going to be like, damn, that's, and it turned out, that was a really good play for the brand. Really
I think he was over 6'5", because I'm 6'4", and I remember him being like the largest person
dude,
I've ever seen.
Dude, he's 6'7", and then we gave him these boots, which get him like over 7 feet. Which
People
I'm
wanted
actually
to take pictures with him. Like it was really cool.
It was wild, right? And so we took him to a lot of places, and it worked. It worked for a couple of years. It was, I would say, those are probably the best days in terms of Hyde sales and Hyde awareness back then.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really
cool.
Yeah,
it's fun. It was fun.
So we talked a lot about energy and the collabs. I'm sure there's love going to the rest of the everything as well. I know pump caps, we haven't talked about in a while, but it's one of our better growing videos, but your pump caps have been updated, I believe. What other stuff are we talking about in your line?
We're working on a vegan protein, of course, working on a sleep formula, but mostly extending our line. We're going to come out with more flavors in Godzilla.
Oh,
so
cool.
We didn't talk about Godzilla yet, but and a lot of license. We have a lot of licensed products coming soon, so we're really excited about them.
Let me tell you the licenses. One thing about the licenses, and I can tell you, this is kudos to Nick. Getting these older kind of throwback companies, a lot of them are family owned. Getting them to understand what we are as sports nutrition guys and why we'd want to partner with them, it takes a lot of convincing, right? So I'm, when Nick has been updating me with all these different relationships that he has going,
I can tell you it's easier now. Once you get one and you
Yeah.
show the proof of concept of
Yes.
one and you show them what you can do with their brand, it's a lot easier.
For
But getting
sure.
that first one is tough, especially when you have a handful of brands, like you said, that are going after them already. Why are they going to give someone that doesn't have any a license when we or Ghost or Dymatize can come in and show proof of concept?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot harder for brands to get into it now.
There's just fewer of them, fewer licenses to go out and grab too.
Especially with I know what we're doing. So
Yeah. Mike, what was your question?
Well, yeah, so if you're bringing up Godzilla, I figured it'd be nice to like just talk about your pre-workouts, because you do have a lot of pre-workouts. You got Project Blackout. Then if you look at this Godzilla, it's awesome. You're like over 11 grams of citrulline, or at 11 grams. So I used 10 grams of citrulline yesterday with nitrates, which is around where you're at, and I had a rough time for the better. I had to send Ben a message. So I'd love to just go back and tell us about your pre-workouts, because you brought up Godzilla. But before we get into Godzilla, can you kind of just give us the pre-workout rundown and who would want to use what from RYSE?
Yeah, we started with a core pre-workout, and that was kind of like it's 275 milligrams of caffeine. It had no time release caffeine, citrulline malate. I actually formulated that before RYSE. It's just a product I loved. We're discontinuing that, unfortunately. A lot of people love it, but that brought us into our Blackout. So we found on the market that a lot of people love the high stim type products. So we made a high stim nitrate based Project Blackout pre-workout. That's great. Everybody loves it. But then we found some people like citrulline. So we made something called loaded pre-workout, where it's a medium stim, I would say. It's got 300 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous, which could be on your high end, but then it's got time release caffeine as well. And it's got 4.5 grams of citrulline. So really that's something like my wife will take. She might 3/4 scoop it, so she gets like 200 in, and works out and runs. But then we got Godzilla, which to me is more of like a novelty product. So I would not suggest taking that every day, especially 2 scoops. That's more of like I'm gonna go crush legs or arms, or if you want to get a good pump. I find if you take it every day, it's just too much on your intestinal tract to take 11 grams of citrulline every single day with 2 grams of nitrates and 400 milligrams of caffeine. But on the same end, we put it in a 1 scoop, 2 scoop formula. So you can take 1 scoop, but you're getting 180 milligrams of caffeine, then you're yielding 200. It might be too low for people, and that's where they want to grab the loaded for their daily driver. So we try having 2 daily drivers, 1 nitrate based, 1 citrulline based, and then your novelty pre-workout Godzilla.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So that cleared it up with the loaded. That's kind of where I was wondering where things are going. And then
a lot of people like citrulline. I find personally nitrates work better for me, but to each their own, right? I still love citrulline, so
right. Yeah, do both.
So then we did both.
Cool.
I feel like everyone reacts a little bit differently, and I know we hate that answer, but it seems
Well, that's why we created those pump caps. So if you put those pump caps, have you seen the updated formula?
I can't remember what you did.
Social media. So you got citrulline peptides in here.
Citrulline peptides, which I like. They're found to be more bioavailable than regular citrulline, and I think they do work better for me. And then you got nitrates in it, and you got vasodrive. So there's more pills to take, but it's a pretty solid. You stack that with any pre-workout, you're getting a good pump.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this is you can add those nitrates to anything now.
Yeah. So that pump cap you can add to any pre-workout, and it'll enhance it tenfold.
Yeah, having nitrates on their own is nice because you can in one formula you can't always have nitrates with other things, but you can always add those capsules. You're not using that gel technology anymore. This is just a straight up pill, right?
So we're not. So there was only one machine that could create that water gel, and they were like 6 months behind on manufacturing. So we switched over to this new formula. But when we did that, we set out, we're like, all right, if we're gonna make a new formula, we're gonna make it the best pump cap out there. And that's why we put 3 patented trademarked ingredients in there. I don't see many people using pet form citrulline. I thought that was unique.
You and far between, and having it in a capsule, I think, is the only place. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So we try to get unique with it, and it works really well. I'll send you some, Ben. Do you have it yet?
Yeah. I haven't had it, but I'd love to try that out.
Yeah, I'll send you that out.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff we're gonna have to catch up on, like blogging and everything. I mean, obviously, so we like to cover this stuff. I like to write about it. We like to talk about it. Obviously, when you get away from like your standard citrulline or citrulline malate, you're gonna have like less research to kind of to back on. But that's why it's awesome to throw into a capsule. You're not banking the entire pre-workout product line on this ingredient, but some people want to try new stuff. They love to come and check out, hey guys, like what's something new that can give me maybe a slightly different
sure yeah
typically when we do that, we try to use the trademarked form, so at least have some backing and research behind it that people can go find, versus just throwing something in there that has no research at all on it. So that's why you see that in there.
Do you find, because with these younger groups that you're really around, do you find that
they? Talk about this.
No, I'm actually not going anywhere. Weird with this. But do you find that they're more interested in researching? Because you mentioned like using the patent ingredients, so they can I find that I think these young kids are so eager to Google and read and learn. Maybe they're not pulling up PubMed, but they're pulling up
so much shitty research out there right now. Pardon my language. I don't know if I can swear on here. There's so much bad, like ectodestrone and terkesterone and all of these things that have been around forever, and they're emerging again, that have no like clinical data on humans, it blows my mind because a YouTuber makes a video about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd almost blame TikTok for some of that. Like,
it is TikTok.
Yeah, you have a whole new audience of people that are giving a whole new, they're like, what's old is new again, because this stuff was rehashed out in the bodybuilding.com forums 2 decades ago. Then it was rehashed out again in Facebook, and then everyone moves to Instagram. Now everyone's moving to TikTok. It's like you lose generations of.
It's generations is what it is,
yes,
right?
Yeah. People ask me about that. I'm like, I'm not going to give an opinion because I need to see research on it first. So we try to urge people to find stuff that has been researched, and especially on humans. Like, if there's research on testosterone and on humans, and there's a clinical trial and it shows great results, I'm all about it. But when there's no research on it, and you're just putting something in your body and you're ingesting it, I have a hard time supporting stuff like that.
So are you saying that with RYSE Supps, you're going to stick with research-backed stuff? Are you ever going to kind of divert, or like maybe if you had like a limited edition Christmas flavor or something like that, would you throw something different in, or are you sticking with the clinical studies?
So we're going to stick with things. Again, that's why we try to, as long as we can, we're going to put trademarked ingredients in there that have clinical studies. But yes, we try to as much as possible. You're never going to see something gray area in our product.
I just think and we talked about this for a while, and I think that's really, I haven't, the old guy in the room talking over here, but I've seen a lot of brands that, have taken kind of the low road and built formulas with ingredients that aren't tested. There haven't been any safety studies done on them.
Yeah.
And that's not a path that thankfully this brand has ever gone in, nor needs to go in. I mean, the greatest thing is, RYSE has developed products with formulas that work, with efficacious doses that are proven to work. And that's all you need, in terms of consumer. In terms of getting the consumer to appreciate what we're doing here, we'll always be able to, lay our head on the pillow at night knowing that we're putting safe products that work in the marketplace.
And when you start talking about like being in Vitamin Shop, being any kind of FDM, it kind of puts guiders on you that you really can't go into those gray areas unless it was a limited edition direct to consumer. But that doesn't help you, especially
it doesn't. Yeah.
Especially with the licenses, I bet. You get a lawsuit against you with these licenses, they're not going to be happy.
No, right.
And it's hard to put these other trademarked ingredients in these products when you have these gray area ingredients. So you're not going to get nitrates if you have these gray area ingredients in your product. Ron's just going to say, no, absolutely not.
They have, and Nick's got great partnership with these patented ingredient companies where they say, hey, look, we'll sell you these products, but we want to review the formula before, and sign off on the formula before you go to manufacturing. So it's kind of it's kind of a tight system around quality that I'm thankful that Nick has always believed in, because it makes it so much easier to sell to the mass markets, the FDM guys, and even internationally, because international business, a lot of these, especially internationally, things are gotten more difficult to export products from the US for a bunch of different reasons, but it's always been a tough ingredient thing. Like if you have any of these weird ingredients, it just makes a product more difficult to export.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing for the industry when someone who's growing so rapidly has a commitment to that. I think it's great that ingredient companies care enough to say, no to those kinds of partnerships. I think that's the only way that we can stomp out those kinds of, offenders.
Nobody needs that negative. Our whole industry, we don't need that negative publicity.
Yeah. We don't need any more warning letters and people going to prison. Like, it's just not a good idea for all of us.
Right.
So, I feel like we're pretty close up to like being caught up in terms of like 2022. Is there anything different happening that Nick hasn't posted on TikTok yet?
Oh yeah.
Because you do a really good job of you make content out of every beta, you make content out of everything. I mean, it's a great idea.
I just want to be in his shadow so I can grow my following. Like, just throw me some I'll just kind of hang over his shoulder or something.
I set out on TikTok too, which some people watching this might think is corny, but every single post has RYSE in it. So I will never make a post without my brand in it. And I've grown 50,000 followers in 4 months, all organically, $0 spent, all RYSE. They're all RYSE lovers. And that's impactful. Like, the amount of sales that come in from that is astronomical. So it's very important. I get stuff out. My videos are getting 100,000, 50,000 views every video. The reach you can get organically if you put good content out there is amazing.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes, we have crazy stuff coming in 2022.
So
Can we talk about it?
I push you every single podcast, so I'm going to do it.
I mean,
So
scale, yeah.
Obviously, we're jumping into protein license.
Okay.
We have about 4 coming, confirmed 4. We have a bunch more pre-workout license coming. One is Bazooka Grape. We're pairing that with their 75th anniversary in April. It's actually my favorite flavor of pre-workout. It's a really good grape flavor with like a hint of bubble gum. We're going to bring that into an energy drink as well. Smarties, you guys know about, is coming out probably next month, hopefully. And then, we have a handful of other pre-workout license.
Awesome. I know Mike and I tend to disagree on grape flavors, but I'm interested to see how you do it.
Who likes grape?
I do, but
which one? No, which one?
Mike likes grape.
Mike
I usually don't like grape, but if you can do something different with it.
I usually need a twist in there, though. I like to have a little grape, maybe a smidge of berry or something. But definitely,
we can thank. Was it NyQuil or Dimetaps for our hatred of for historical hatred of grape? Yeah, when cough syrup. I'm telling you, it's that.
They killed it, huh?
They did. It's that. Honestly, if it was,
I'm not a grape fan, but when I tried this, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, Bazooka. I'm excited to try this. We'll for sure want to get some. Do you have any sketchy bags you can send at some point? Or is that
I actually do. I have containers that I can
see. That's the kind of stuff we got to start getting at least to Ben. If there's ever, he's on video more, so he's the priority. If you ever have an extra bag, get it over to him.
We'll send it out to both spots now so that's something Greg's going to be responsible for. So again, our delegating with the 3 of us. It was very hard prior to when we worked together for me to do all of that. So we'll be on top of that and make sure you get all these samples out.
That's great. Hey, one thing I want to say for those talking about TikTok, your username is RYSE_CEO, RYSE_CEO. So Nick Stella, just to make sure people see that because I popped up your page and
that's cool.
TJ, are you saying CEO Swole?
Yeah, it's funny. This is the 3rd time this has come up today. Yeah, I was planning on it just because who gave me that name was a good buddy of mine, JP Lanza, who
cool guy.
Great guy. And he literally, when we were coming up with Instagram and it was the thing, he said, I was trying to come up with a name. He said, dude, you're Swole, you're the CEO, be CEO Swole. And that's just stuck. I mean, I'd have to get a new ice shaker if I got to change my name. I don't know what I'd do. No, I think it's my IG handle, and I don't have any plans on changing it, and hopefully Nick won't. He won't get it. Yeah. So I think.
Although you might want to in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny.
It's good having RYSE on it because we're such a social media powered brand.
Yeah.
That when people see it, like Greg changed his to RYSE VP.
It's so easy to find you guys now.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's
maybe
true.
We'll be
Yeah.
RYSE Swole.
Yeah, I can do that.
RYSE Swole.
RYSE Swole. Yeah. We'll come up with something. Yeah, we'll let you know in the next podcast if I change it.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
You're always welcome back on.
We appreciate it. This has been fun, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate you guys having us.
I was excited for it because, well, TJ, you bring like an old school vibe with this. And it's always fun talking to like veterans in the community.
Yeah.
And what an ironic company for a veteran to be joining, because
for real, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, just last week on our 2021 review video, I made a point of like rises during the talks about new brands that are being accepted, and it's kind of it's an odd combination, but I see it working.
It's going to be fun. So obviously, where I see the marriage being perfect is, as we said earlier, I'm bringing this kind of old school vibe of how we grew in brick and mortar retail and international, and combined with his expertise on the digital side and the marketing. I was thankful that I had an opportunity like this to take everything that I've learned over the last 20 years and really put it to work. Because now, I mean, RYSE is doing so many big things at retail already, and then not to mention all the direct to consumer engagement stuff. It's a real great opportunity for me.
Cool, awesome. Well, I don't really have any other questions. It's been a pretty packed hour. Mike, do you have anything that you are curious about?
No, I'm good to go. I'm ready for some baggies.
Gangster baggies. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we will still send those out. Yeah.
For sure. We'll get this up. This is going to be episode 60, I believe, right? Yeah. First one of the year, episode 60 of the podcast. So very excited. We'll have to do this once in a while. We need to get over to Dallas. So I'm not sure exactly where you're at, but easy for me.
30 minutes from the airport. You fly into DFW. You know where we're at. You DFW, you fly into DFW. We're 30 minutes literally north of the airport.
Ben, I got to get you power lift in here.
I'll come lift heavy with you guys.
I'm the only one that lifts heavy. Everyone else is.
Yeah. I mean, me and I still watch the Jane Fonda videos. So I'm like,
I love it. I mean, Mike, you haven't seen their gym yet. They have this gorgeous gym.
Yeah, it's nice.
I love the RYSE turf, the graffiti on the walls. It's gonna be fun.
The vibe is totally cool, man. Like there's people like, it doesn't matter what day you come by here. There's athletes, different athletes, even, new fresh faces that want to be athletes. They're working out in the gym. It's definitely a cool vibe.
Cool. Well, we're ready to come down whenever. So we'll be talking soon. And we'll hit the ground running this year with a lot of content for RYSE. I know there's a lot coming. So I think this has answered a lot of questions. I think it's been pretty good. And one of my favorite things doing these podcasts with guys like yourself is we kind of started this off talking about consumer perspective. We get to show behind the scenes. So thanks for being so transparent about everything today.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been fun. Thanks, guys, so much.
Thanks
awesome.
for having us.
So we'll
Happy
sign
New
off
Year,
here.
fellas.
So everyone can find TJ at CEO_swole. Tentatively for now. And you can find Nick at RYSE_CEO. And obviously RYSE Supps is the real Instagram.
Yeah,
is it
RYSESupps.com.
What's
I'm
the
not
actual
sure if we have a PricePlow coupon, but we should have a PricePlow coupon at some point. And then PricePlow.com/RYSE-Supps, where you can sign up for the news alerts and then get notified whenever we have new stuff coming, or just follow PricePlow on social media and you will be seeing it coming. And we'll drop some fun clips here. Ben does the reels from these podcasts too.
Awesome.
Great.
Can't wait.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much for stopping in.
Yeah, great. See you, fellas.